Hey, what's going on, guys? Battle Nation Zipper here, back today with another video. And today, guys, we have part 2 to the Boss Strikes video. So, in our previous video, we covered limited edition troops, part 2, and now we have part 2 for the Boss Strikes. So, in Boss Strikes part 1, we covered Boss Strikes 1 through 5. Today, in Boss Strikes part 2, we will be covering Boss Strikes 6 through 10. And while I did express in the earlier video that the earlier these boss strikes were, the better they were, boss strikes 6 through 10 were nothing to scoff at and were still some of the best the game had to offer. So for anybody new here, or for anybody who would like a refresher, what is a boss strike? Boss strikes were monthly events in the old Battle Nations where you and your guild would fight 4 to 5 waves of enemies, and for every enemy you killed, you would earn boss points. These boss points were resources that could be earned in battle that would be used to fill up a meter. This meter would then be used to earn tiers. Tiers would start off from tier 1 going all the way up to tier 12. Tier 1 would normally start out very simple, normally something like oil, timber, concrete, simple. And then tier 10 would normally be something very cool, like normally a plane or a limited edition unit. Now, normally while tier 10 was the best unit to grit, there were normally two other limited edition units to earn during the boss strike, and those were at tier 3 and tier 7. So for every single boss strike, there would normally be 3 limited edition aircraft, and they would be dispersed at tier 3, tier 7, and tier 10 respectively. While tier 10 was technically the max, you could earn tier 10 again, theoretically, by repeating tier 10, but now with double the points, and that would be considered tier 11. And then after you completed tier 11, you could technically do it again for a tier 12, but again for double the points, so quadruple the initial for tier 10. So if you see anybody with the tier 10 aircraft, that's a good player. You see somebody with 2 tier 10 aircraft, that's an extremely good player. You see somebody with 3 tier 10 aircraft, that's one of the best players in the game. That was pretty much a rule of thumb you could use for objecting the strength of a fellow player. While you mainly earned these boss points from killing enemy units in the waves, you could also earn them from donating resources, normally oil, concrete, lumber, something within the game, not nanopods, but a resource within the game. And again, this was not the primary way to earn it. Normally, you would earn vast majority of your boss points through fighting in the waves. Almost all boss strikes launched with limited edition units, so those aircrafts at tier 3, tier 7, and tier 10 were normally not only all new, but also all limited to that boss strike. So if you didn't get them within that boss strike, you weren't going to get them. And then finally, the last little fun piece of information here. Boss strikes can technically be soloed. Not recommended because you really can't get past tier 3 by yourself just because no one person can. Tier 3 by yourself is still an accomplishment. And also, as soon as you're in a guild when a boss strike starts, you cannot leave. So, just a fun little fact within the wiki, a technicality, but I thought I'd throw it in here just for a little fact. Sorry, I just want to check my recording real quick. I've done this a few times and well, I've done this twice fully, and then when I went to stop it, I was not recording, so I just wanted to make sure I was recording. And with all of that being done and the intro behind us, let's jump right into it with boss strike number 6, Evelyn Aceheart. So boss strike 6 introduced Evelyn Aceheart, the head Air Force commander of the rebellion. She's based off Amelia Earhart, a very famous U.S. fighter, a very famous U.S. flyer who was the first female, I believe in history, at least the first female American to cross, I believe it was the Atlantic Ocean, to a country in Europe and then fly back. She was a very famous American pilot. She unfortunately went missing one day in a flight across one of the oceans. She went missing and was never found again. It was a very big mystery, a few conspiracies around it. It is believed she passed away somewhere at the ocean through whatever cause, misdirection, fuelage, malfunction within her plane, whatever. It's believed she unfortunately passed away. But nevertheless, she still was very accomplished in her life, and of course the mysterious disappearance of her legacized her in history. Another interesting note about this ball strike is that it had a large amount of aircraft units, which makes sense. I mean, she, since this rebel leader, Evelyn Acehart here, is, pilot herself. It's kind of looking, again, great artwork, but I kind of feel her jawline looks a bit male. Her hair kind of puts it away, though. Her hair does look a little bit female-ish, but yes, a female, Evelyn, and here's what it would have looked like in game. That's a signal jammer. And here are the tier 3. So the three airplanes you can earn: tier 3, tier 7, and tier 10. And here are the waves. So as I was talking about a little bit earlier, the increased aircraft that was in this ball strike in particular. You can see the 4 Zeppelins on the field right here, 2 on each side. And keep in mind, this is your tier 3, so you can earn this, you can only earn 1, but you can still technically earn this on your own. But you can only earn 1. You can only complete tier 3 once and get 1 of them. Meanwhile, you're going against 4 per wave. That was just the type of difficulty you were going up against in this ball strike, especially when it came to aircraft. They were very powerful. Another example right here, these are 2 Mavericks. This was a previous tier 10. Very strong units. Again, insane that they are putting you up against this, really. And then this is a little bit more grainy of an image, but still gets the point across. That's a Boar in the center right there. That's a previous tier 10. A Maverick, again, another tier 10 on the left there. And then at the right there, you have an anti-aircraft Hurricane. Extremely powerful defense. The promotional unit for this ball strike was a Aero Jetpack Trooper, which, yeah, I believe he was in the waves right here, and he is. This gentleman right down here. He was the promotional unit for this ball strike. Here's a high-definition look of his front and back. And here's some promotional artwork of him. And that left right there being his final design. New ball strike unit, the Aero Jetpack Trooper. Kills ground and air units simultaneously, as this unit wields 2 heavy-hitting rocket launchers. As this Aero Jetpack Trooper will automatically match your rank. 85 nanopods. But certainly worth it. And again, no level requirement. So very strong. And finally, last thing to note about this ball strike is its tier 10, the signal jammer right here, would be referred to as, quote, a flying Airbus in the community, and also within the wiki right here. The wiki would actually word it as, speaking roughly, the signal jamming drone is like a flying version of the Boom Bus. The Boom Bus, of course, being a previous limited edition unit that did not cost nanopods, cost resources, and was beloved by the community for being not only free, but also extremely powerful and would require many nerfs. So being compared to the flying version of that is a massive compliment for the signal jamming drone. So great ball strike for ball strike 3 right here. Moving straight on into ball strike 7, we have our first revenge ball strike. Ball strike 7, Shro's Revenge. This was the return of Shro with her Silver Wolf armies. This would mark the first ball strike where a leader would get their revenge/return. This would become a recurring theme for later on ball strikes. All 3 of her aircraft would be new to the player. This would be a Silver Wolf Crop Duster. Oh, let me get some images up of it, but before that, let's get some promotional work of her. This would be what it would look like in-game. Ready the troops for ball strike, for our next ball strike. And despite how loved the Silver Wolves were, despite how adored she was by the community, you would only ever get to see 2 official photos of her. This being the second one, and the first one being from our first ball strike. Well, this is still the second one, without the text. And this is the first one with text, as we can see here. But I mean, this one looks good. This is her first photo, but I think they really outdid themselves with the second. And these are the only 2 photos we have of her. But both of them amazing design and amazingly done. The promotional unit. Before we get into the promotional unit, I forgot to get to the photos of the 3 aircraft. This is the Crop Duster, Silver Wolf Crop Duster. The Silverwolf helicopter, which would be an amazing unit, despite being a Silverwolf, which normally is considered a weaker of the two units, or weaker of the factions, really. This guy was extremely strong. Here's some more advanced artwork of him and his shotgun drawn next to him for simplicity. He brings this out for one of his attacks. And the Skybus, the tier 10. The promotional unit was the Boar hovercraft, seen here. Here that's promotional in-game. New Boss Strike unit, Boar hovercraft. Armored units and vehicles will have trouble withstanding this unit's napalm, EMP rockets, and heavy machine gun fire. The Boar's hovercraft rank will automatically max your level for 80 nanopods, available in your vehicle factory for level 15s and above. And that was just about everything to cover in this boss strike, mainly just a factor of how cool all three of these units were, from the Crop Duster, just fitting in with the theme, the very useful and very strong tier 7 Silverwolf helicopter, and then of course the famous Skybus with all of its cool attacks. So overall, a very good boss strike, especially with this little promotional unit, the hovercraft. A decent unit, nothing to write home about, but a fun unit nevertheless. Going right on into boss strike number 8, we have the Return of Shaman, boss strike 8, the Battle of Shaman Kurz. It's the return of Kurz with his Raider armies. The wave system was adjusted for levels again. It was established in wave, I believe, boss strike number 2, and reworked in boss strike number 3. It would be reworked here again in boss strike 8, and several more times before the end in boss strike 21. But point being is they reworked it here in boss strike 8, and we would rework it several more times. Did adjust it here though. The last back-to-back triple aircraft for a single boss strike, as all of the aircraft in this boss strike were technically new. And let's jump right into them after this promotional here. Ready the troops for the next boss strike. Let's get it without text. Beautiful. And here are the three, tier 3, tier 7, and there was a unit before this, was basically this exact same helicopter, except instead of an orange tilt to the glass, there would be a blue tilt to the glass in the original, but it was basically this helicopter. And then finally, the tier 10, this bad boy right here, which we'll get into him momentarily. Let's jump into the promotional unit, the Samurai. Here he is. Here are his front and back. And the new boss strike unit, the Wandering Samurai. This unit's mastery of sword results. This unit's mastery of the sword results in 3 deadly piercing attacks. He's sure to slaughter any troops or animals that cross his path. A whopping 90 nanopods available at your barracks for level 28 plus, but he was certainly worth it, as he was the counterance, if you will, a kind of new kid on the block to the Blood Ninja. While the Blood Ninja was certainly stronger, he made up for it in the factor of he was 20 plus. I think for the Blood Ninja you had to be like 45 or 50 level to get it. So definitely available to players earlier on. And then finally, just want to make sure I got the name right, the RS-17 Shadow Wasp. This thing was so cool when it initially launched. I mean, just simply looking at it, you could probably tell why. It redefined what it meant to be a cool boss strike unit. It's designed after a traditional U.S. Spy plane, if you will. Designed very slick, very sleek. That jet navy blue here, and it really redefined what a Battle Nations tier 10 boss strike aircraft could be, because all before this they're normally based off a World War II aircraft. They're normally some giant green, strong looking aircraft, right? But this thing just looks so cool. It looks like it looks like a stealth jet. And yeah, it was loved by the community. Relatively strong. It shot lightning out of those rods right there. And again, relatively strong, but man, did it look cool. And while it was, for the time, it was limited edition, because of course, when it came out, this was the only way to get it. And while it was limited edition, it was a remarkably cool trophy to have. Very cool unit. Moving straight on to our next boss strike. We have boss strike number 9. Rebel Sergeant Ludlow. The introduction of him, and he is a sergeant in the Rebellion Army. He is described as a vehicle and defense expert in the in-game pop-up. He is a vehicle and defense expert, so prepare accordingly. Ready the troops and guildmates for the next boss strike. Here it is without text. His 3 aircraft given through his boss strike. Helicopter right here. Tier 7 and Tier 10. The promotional unit was the Demolisher. Right here. Boss strike unit, the Demolisher. Comes in like a wrecking ball, featuring super strong attacks to break down walls and all other defensive units. Build in under a minute. Demolisher's rank will automatically match your levels for 79 nanopods. They're expensive, but if you were a person who liked to attack your friends and take out their watchtowers, their sand pillars, any defensive buildings they had, this thing did massive damage to it and was certainly great for teasing your friends and taking control of their base. And finally, the last thing to mention about this boss strike is its tier 10 right here. The Boar 2 caused controversy as it's basically a carbon repeat of the Boar 1. The only thing difference is, design-wise, is, as you can see, it has flames on its wings. The original Boar does not, and it has teeth and a different gun, while the Boar does not, has a different gun. Some fans were upset about this, however, considering what they would do later, unfortunately, with just repeating straight aircraft, some tier 10s as well, this would be the least of fans concerns. I agree with what Battle Nations was doing here. I kind of liked it. I wish they would carry it later on instead of just repeating what was supposed to be limited edition aircraft. But unfortunately, the community was a little bit upset at the time. But this would be nothing compared to what was coming. So again, love Battle Nations, love what they attempted to do here with the Boar 2, while allowing the Boar 1 to still be limited edition for the people who got it. Beautiful. And of course, we saved best for last. Boss strike number 10. Dr. Volgi's Serval Wolf. And man, what can you say about this one, really? Let's get into the straight promotional artwork, the pop-up in game. Right before that, though, let's go over his 3 units. We're going to save tier 10 for a little bit later, but tier 3, standard military attack drone, classic cartoonish attack drone, if you will, the little rockets on the sides there. A unfortunate repeat of tier 7 from Boss Strike 7, Show's Revenge, her helicopter, but as mentioned before, you can only earn tier 3 and tier 7 aircraft once, so this was a chance to get it again. So while it did suck because it, ruined the limited edition aspect of it, it was cool to have 2 of them if you got both of them. And we'll come back to this bad boy later, but a lot of the good things to say about him. Here's the promotional artwork for him. He's a mad scientist with an ancient tech army at his side. Get busy. Boss Strike 10 begins soon. Here he is, working within the lab. Promotional art without the text. And the promotional unit was the Mech Trooper. Here's what the enemy front looks like in the friendly back. The Mechanized Trooper, the perfect machine for taking on giant robots, angry rebels, rampaging raiders, and acid-spitting insect. Crushing power grips, a flamethrower, and missiles that exceed Empire military code. The Mechanized Trooper's rank will automatically match your level. Trains in under a minute for 89 nanopods. Available in your barracks. A beloved limited edition unit. I believe this is, in fact, one of the limited edition units we covered in the previous video of limited edition units part 2. A beloved unit, the Mechanized Trooper. And he was the cherry on top of this amazing boss strike, which had a great promotional unit, him, had a great character, this bad boy, Dr. Mad Scientist from the Serval Wolves, and probably the best part about it, at least in my opinion, this bad boy right here, the Flying Dexter Fragment. He is one of, if not the best tier 10s in all of Boss Strike history, because he redesigned what a cool Boss Strike tier 10 could be. You always went into new Boss Strikes, okay, what's the tier 10? Just like, what is the new tier 10? Is it new? Is it cool? And you always expect it to be some kind of aircraft. you went in and you saw this, and it wasn't the strongest thing. I mean, you know, it had a little tail whip and it shoots some lasers. We've reviewed it in an aircraft video because it technically classifies as an aircraft, but he just looks so cool. And if, you know, you were a person who already liked the Ancient Sentinel and, you know, who already liked, you know, the ancient tech and battle nations, he was a must-have for your army because, again, he was only available here in Ball Strike 10 as tier 10 for a limited edition, so you had to get him, you know, here if you wanted him. So just a really cool gold rush, if you will, for him. A extremely cool design and just an amazing trophy to have while you had him. An awesome unit and an awesome Ball Strike. Believe that. Just wanted to make sure I covered everything. And while, again, I personally believe Ball Strike 4 was the best in history, if Ball Strike 10 is your favorite, I think you have a great case to defend. I think you have a great case to make it, because in my opinion, it definitely deserves in the Hall of Fame. Definitely top 5, maybe even top 3. And that will do it for today's videos, guys. Ooh, accidentally covered mic up for a second. Getting some live stuff done, trying to make videos a little bit more often. I'm trying to get my folder working for my Patreon. I have the Battle Nation Sandbox. I unfortunately don't have the beta as it hasn't come out yet for Patreon users. I do not have the public release as it's coming out later on this year for everybody. And all I really have is the Sandbox like everybody else. Trying to figure out how to use it. Once I do, I'm going to try to have it in the background as gameplay just for everybody to watch and for everybody to look at. Just to have something there. And I thought that would be cool, just to have Battle Nation, my own Battle Nations footage in the background, even if it's just the Sandbox. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys would be interested in seeing that. Let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing anything. If you'd like me to continue with the series, make extra parts of the series I already have going on, a new series for Battle Nations 101, or anything Battle Nations related, whatever you guys would like to see. As long as it's, you know, appropriate and it's Battle Nations related, we could definitely, I would definitely love to, you know, make it for you guys. But thank you very much for watching all this way. If you had, thank you very much for watching all this video. Please drop a like down below if you liked the video, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And that will do it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a great rest of your day.